don't know how to pin these just somewhere. Let's see. Love yourself to only love others. I'm making a drive to Portland, Maine today. So I figure I just check in. So, love yourself to love others. What is that? What does that mean when I say that? Right now, in like most spiritual movement in anyone's life, or existential movement, or growth movement, however you want to embody it, because everyone's just trying to attach self-betterment to a third party to allow them to feel moved by it more, right? Your life is essentially a space where you're essentially looking for things to move you. You're looking to be moved in moments. The problem with some people's lives is that they don't have moments where they're moved to anything, right? They're in idle. And everyone knows the difference between an action that you're moved to make and then an action that you just lie idle or you overthink before. This is a real dichotomy that comes up in society today, and which leads to the big unfulfillment of most lives. And when I say unfulfillment of most lives, I don't put that in a negative way, because like everyone lives lives that are unfulfilled because there's infinite possibility. Like let's right. So if there's infinite possibility, then I mean, at some extent, you would have to start to rationalize and understand a life and the possibility that life is always unfulfilled, but it's always making the best out of and moving in the most correct or most true, we'll say, because true is better than correct, because everyone has different truths that play out in their life, but it just has to be a truth. We have a lot of people who live in falsity and fallacy within their lives, having trouble, because the thing that comes up when you start to break down that understanding in just its general sense. Right, so if I'm always struggling with the notion of betterment of self, right, and how to motivate and move myself to better self, because movement is just what you're essentially looking to do. You're essentially looking to just be moved, right? So that's the number one motion, right, and way to understand your life, is that you're always looking for moments and things that move you within your day-to-day basis. What's up? Now, as you're looking to get moved within your day-to-day basis, is there any questions you have today, actually? Let's go before I move. Do you have any questions? Anything in particular you want to talk about? If you're just viewing, or I'll keep going. Alright, I'm just gonna keep going. Anyway, unless I see something. If you have something in particular you want to talk about that you might have heard me talk about before, anything, let me know. If not, I'll keep moving. So, anyway, yeah, the dichotomy of understanding yourself. Now, you want to do better for yourself. Now, everyone places a certain notion. So now, if we're talking about spiritual understanding, because like everyone has their notions and motions that are moving them. You have a spiritual person, or which when we talk about spirit, it's really just energy. So your energetic body, your body that feels, your body that's empathetic, the body that is existing within the body in a sense, that has its own boundaries, right? Because we have our physical boundaries that represent our material body, as what we'd say. Like when you look to some people, they talk about the third dimensional, okay, but like your body, right? Your body has its own boundaries, just like your emotional body has its own boundaries. That means there's a whole different being that exists within your being that is reacting to a whole different set of stimuli and the same stimuli at the same time. So that's a different thing. Your emotions, your hormones, right? Chemically, you have a body. You have a chemical body, right? So once the man starts to understand, or woman, all people start to understand that our body is a range of systems and bodies, because within each body is what I would say a system. Because your organ senses a body. Like if your organs were able to just like slither around, and you could just like if you just drop food in the top, essentially the organ system can live. Like, they be keeping people's organs and hearts pumping like through machines. So it just needs the right stimulus, right? Or the culture median in order to like grow and function properly, however, right? Which is why the body is built to encase these things. Which is a thing that we start to forget sometimes when we forget about the body. Right? We've been so like removed from the body. I was having a conversation this morning that when you look at your general business understandings and things of this nature, we move to try and get it on a theoretical basis. The creation of a theoretical understanding takes so much time to be like pushed and presented throughout people. That's why we have the systems that we do, essentially is to help to I would say condition, I wouldn't say force, but condition people to prioritize certain things in a certain order, which is very important in one sense, right? You want to prioritize exactly how you're making your growth. You want to prioritize these type of things. It's all different growth aspects, but it's all different relation aspects. Right, so when we're talking about spiritual development, when you're talking about life development, when you're talking about all these different things, different people just ascribe general betterment within themselves to another ideology, which is why you have a business realm that even exists. Your business realm, or your like what people would consider Babylonic realm, exists merely for the fact that people have a place where they're trying to project and reach and achieve a betterment within their life, but it's based around a system that was created in spite of real life, in a sense. Because like signature is just sign nature. So like when we think about the way that we're breaking down our environment and how we're doing things, the aspect of balance sometimes gets so out of touch with like just a day-to-day kind of like normalcy, or just like accepted. So it's like it's dealing with the dichotomy as a human, right? Coming in all hues. Like these things are very important to understand. And we're kind of missing out on a lot of the things. Now, when you're talking about your spiritual growth and development, it's about keeping your mind directed on that highest nature of yourself, because that's all it is. It's just conscious thought. If you think about Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, right, talks about ascribing all day-to-day activity onto a God source, right? That's Krishna now, where we get Christ from. This is just like the higher nature of yourself. Like when we think about the understanding of even an application of a God, right? You're only talking about the notion of a highest, purest version of self, right? That's why we always have like Virgo is like Virgo. Like you look at Virgo in the chart, Virgo comes off as like the virgin, the innocent, right? That's like the godly, it's like God's daughter, like they make it seem. So when you look at these type of heavenly these understandings, Mary was a virgin, like this pureness of this high self. Like when Mary was really to represent the moon, but like pure emotions, right? Pure nurturing, right? Then you had God who had his son killed for the sake of man, in a sense, like, which is like this stern overarching love, this like weird, but it's like all in one, right? So it's like all these things, like these notions that we're trying to get breaking down and assembled within the Bible, within like just your Vedic astrology, within your Hebrew religion, like, or your Hebrew Israelite, however you want to break it down. If you're into Egyptology, Cometian, like how they get down, like everything was ascribing day-to-day things onto a higher notion so man could lust towards that, because lust is a thing that all men and women suffer from, but it's not even a suffer, it's natural, but it just depends on what the nature is of the thing that you're lusting towards, right? Because like lust is not a bad thing. Like that's the only reason we're able to procreate and create. That's the only reason we're able to go after. Like it's that go aftering. Lusting and going after is seeking pleasure from attaining. Like that's a wide scope, right? But we just place it in such a bad place all the time because there's a negative application that can easily play out within our society today through the things that we have provided for people to congregate around and express their emotions. It's not, the problem is not people's emotions. It's just the way people express them and share is the problem. The median for all this. It always lends for people to take or lose control. Where the dichotomy is supposed to break down in a sense where when you go around people, it should be in a place that's uplifting and allowing for connection that's like in a good state of mind, right? A lot of people are living their days too fucked up. Like, we have social structures based around either very rigid line-based things, like when I say very rigid line-based things, like where you have to like produce, you have to hit markets, you have to score, achieve, you have to do all these different things, all these different levels of it, right? No matter what, because like when I say all these things, you could break them down into any life dynamic, and you have this innate urge to do this, right? Now you break into your social atmosphere, and your social atmosphere comes with a lot of group mentality, comes with a lot of pressures, comes with a lot of stress and all these different things as well, right? And trying to be a part of certain events, but like culturally, because like we all have like the understanding that we have individuals within the subculture, right? Like, or within the main culture. And like within all these different breakdowns, it leads for and lends for a certain amount of appropriation in order to fit the social norms. That's what the matrices are. Matrices, like there's more than one matrix. Like when you look at just the movie The Matrix, Neo broke out of the Matrix just to enter another level of Matrix. Like he broke out of the original Matrix just to enter a full other level of like having to associate with a whole different being, people, things. So it's not like he broke out of the Matrix just for just to get out, and then all of a sudden it was like clean and clear. He broke out of the Matrix and then had a whole different realm of things to overcome now. Once he had his mindset and he understood what everything was about and he knew what his power was, he then had to apply it to this whole different level, right? A lot of people are looking to do that right now because you're making growth steps, right? Growth steps are very important. Growth steps are very important, but it's all about how you ascribe yourself to. Just ascribe yourself to the highest, best version of yourself. If you're always ascribing yourself to the highest, best version of yourself at all times and keeping your mind eye, your real eye, your reality actions, like your actions on it, and doing the best thing you can and being conscious in your moments, you'll always come out to like a good space. And you'll always be in a place where you didn't react, you acted in situations more. Because action, when you look at action, before someone says action in a play or action in a movie or anything, there was a lot of planning that was done before. And even when they improvise within a like a median. It's not just like blunt improvisation. But you have to be breaking it down in that sense. So when I'm having something come into my reality, something that projects itself towards me that I have to react to now, right? The best application for me to make on this situation is to sit back and think and align myself with like what would be the most understanding way to come across this. Because if you try and come across things in the most understanding way, you have to be really open to what you see and listen to what you see. The hardest part, honestly, is to listen without having a second thought. When you listen with that second thought or that worry or that doubt, sometimes you miss exactly what you're hearing. And you miss out on like the possibilities. The possibilities of people is like the thing that's like really amazing when you start to break down like what conversations do, what being around someone does, what just presence alone is a mere and utter like I don't even know the amazingness, gracious. It's amazing to be able to just interact, right? To be able to be understood is even more fantastic. Understanding is such a beautiful space. space of understanding makes a space for growth. And once you have growth and you start to develop within all aspects of your life, that's why your friends should be have to be a mirror of the things that you need in order to get yourself to a certain place, but that will allow you to love them more. A lot of people have tainted loves with their friends, family, and things like that because the relationship doesn't suit the amount of investment that it takes. And that's not a bad thing. That we all have that in our lives. That's why we're not best friends with our kindergarten best friends, a lot of us still. A lot of us aren't still cool with our second grade best friends, third grade best friends, fourth grade best friends, right? So at a certain point, people that are close in your life that you might have in first grade, you might have not gone anywhere without this one person. This one person might have been your best friend ever, right? And you would have talked about them all the time. You played games with them. Now you might not even be able to recognize them in public, right? That's just life. That's how things work. So we have to be able to start to create circles and create understandings and create things and movement towards a place where there are a lot of people or there's understanding. Everyone needs to start to get to understanding. The problem we have now is that every person has a sense of understanding ingrained within them. Right? We're still an informed populace. We're not so uninformed, right? There is a lot of information that is retained throughout this population and things that we can move on, right? So it's people try and really downplay it, but it's really not that bad. But what we have to start to really understand is that within this understanding of things, we have to start to make and show how to make the steps. The real intricate, not even intricate though, there would be general steps, but easily understood to make future movement. Future movement is very important. And starting to understand how to get things on our own. Start to master our elements. Once we start to master our elements, we can start to change things up in a whole different way. But it takes a little bit of time.